Hi everybody, this is Jawahar Alvi Juhi, and I am the Clinical Director for BASIS, Behavior and Special Educational Services. And I am also a learning behavioral specialist, and I have brought a video to you today. And the video that I brought to you today is about anxiety, and it talks about how we can address the issue of anxiety that is happening with the kids these days, also with adults, as well as with the younger kids that we have right now, and the issue where they are getting a little bit more anxious because they have to stay home. Also because some of them are staying together with the siblings, just the anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen towards the end of the day, just the anxiety of tomorrow if they're going to be able to go out or not, just the anxiety of how things are going to happen, how things are going to go on forward is just something that's happening. I've also seen kids that have become anxious and they've started talking about like different things that are not there, like hallucinations, supernatural things, monsters under the bed, and things like that. So I also came up with the situation where I had a little client and they became like really anxious, and they started to have some really dark thoughts. um, and then I also had a little kid who started to talking about like running away from the home. I had a kid who wanted to um, go and hide in a closet, and I had a kid who wanted to turn off the TV because he didn't want to hear the news anymore. So there's a lot of incidents as we're getting that cabin fever, and as we're seeing that this time is going by and we're not able to accomplish a lot of things that are supposed to be accomplished, or our structures being disrupted. We're seeing a lot of those things. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about were, one is that I was looking at, a couple of things that were taken from there was like a couple of visuals that I had, and the visuals that I had were, they were from Teachers Pay Teachers, and then this is like a visual that you can present to the kids. And in these visuals there are, it says, what can I do? So giving kids choices of what they can do instead of being anxious. So this is something, a more of a visual thing that you can present to them. And it says, it starts with basically, what can I do? I can write about it. So some kids, they feel really good if they write about it. Like I know that if I used to get anxious when I was younger, if I used to write about stuff, that used to make me feel really good. Ask for a hug. I could choose an activity that I could do. I could talk about it. I could ask for a break, or I could imagine. So these are some of the activities that I could do. The next one that I could talk about is what I can do. Play the 5 4 3 2 1 game. I could squeeze a squishy ball or just my hand. I could remind myself that I'm okay and I can do this. So these are some visuals. Then on the next page I have this visual, and you could laminate these. You could give these choices to the kids, and you can even cut them in cards. The next one that it talks about is, I can drink water. I can choose a fidget to fidget with. I can pick a new location. I can pick a new position. So if you see over here, they are like, I can go to a new location, or I can pick a new position. I can listen to music, which is also calming for some of our clients or kids. I can give myself a tight squeeze. So sometimes giving yourself a tight squeeze is really helpful. And then picking a yoga pose is helpful sometimes. Then deep breathing. So right here is deep breathing. And then there's a scale over here, and this scale is something that I've used with some of my kiddos, or some of my adults, or my teenagers, my middle schoolers, where they can go over the scale of 1 to 10, and they can go over like they can rate themselves, and after they rate themselves, they can go and use any of the coping strategies or the skills. And then they can count, so they can count from 1 to 11 or 1 to 10. And then the other one is they can decide how many what would they like to do? Would they like to do taking a breath? Would they like to, they can count whatever they want to do. So this is one of the activities they can do. So now, one of the researches that I was studying or I was reading, it said that not everybody does the deep breathing the right way. So in that way, what we have to do is we have to teach the kids how to do the deep breathing in a right manner. So the way that deep breathing should be done is that it should be taken with the nose and it should be exhaled through the mouth. So it should be hold it in and then they should exhale it out. So it shouldn't be that the kid is getting, or the client or the adult or the middle schooler is getting hyperventilated. So the whole purpose of the deep breathing is to make the kids get calmer. It is to give them, like, resetting them and getting them at peace rather than having them hyperventilate. So remember, there's a difference between you doing and doing. So, you basically, the purpose of it is to calm yourself down, not to be that anxious. So you have to teach the kids and model for the kids how to do it the appropriate way. Another thing that I have found to be really successful is progressive muscle relaxation, which is a very, very cool technique that I've used with some of my kids. I remember I used to work with a kid who was a 7-year-old, and he was higher functioning, was diagnosed with autism, but he did have the autism and the ADHD overlapping with each other. So with that kid, we used to use we used to do progressive muscle relaxation. So it was basically, you would have to choose between the two, and then basically when you use progressive muscle relaxation, it's like, you have a noodle which is really, really tight, and then when you put it in water, it gets softer. So that's the whole concept of it. So there are like really, really good scripts about progressive muscle relaxation that are available on YouTube. You can go and put PMR, progressive muscle relaxation. You'll get some scripts that are geared towards younger kids, geared toward middle schoolers, geared toward older kids, and it's really cool. And I used to do it with him, and it actually used to calm me down too. So that's a really good technique also. Another thing that some cultures have used is, and especially some cultures outside of America, they've used is a worry basket. And that worry basket is that you place the basket outside the house and you tell the kids, hey, you know what, we're just going to leave our worries over here and we'll talk about them later. So in order to enhance that technique, what you can do is that you can have like a Rubbermaid basket, a plastic basket in the house. And what you can do is that you can have the kids write down the things that are worrying them the most that day, and you can have them put that worry in that basket so that they don't think about it and they can talk about it later. Another activity that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers, and this was free of cost, is ideas for coping with anxiety, and these are the ideas for it. So there are like tons of cards that you get with them. So basically you can use them as prompts to play games. They could be conversation starters, they could be group activities, and they could be used for teaching new vocabulary. So I just cut these cards out like this, and I brought these cards and I have put them over here like this. So these cards, they can be used for multiple things. You can play charades with them. You can play conversation starters with them. So the things that they have on the card is talk about a time when you had anxiety and were able to cope with it. Make your anxiety go away. The next one is talk about a time when you had a what if thought. Think of a favorite smell. Now close your eyes and imagine smelling it. Talk about things that make you worry. And imagine somewhere relaxing. Talk about the sights, sounds, and smell of this place. Self-talk is how we talk about our situations to ourselves. Positive self-talk is I can do this. Negative self-talk is I can't do anything right. Say something about your self-talk. And then talk about where is your body you feel anxiety. Jack gets anxious when he's around new people. What do you think he can do to feel confident? And then talk about how your body feels when it is calm. And then think about a time when you thought something was too hard. What could you think next time something seems like it is too hard? What do you think it means to have butterflies in your stomach? A trigger is a word that means something that makes you feel a feeling. Talk about one of your triggers of anxiety. Coping skills are things that make you feel better when you are anxious or upset. What are some of your favorite coping skills? And practice taking 3 deep breaths. Practice being mindful of how it feels when you take a deep breath. And then when you're feeling anxious, count the number of blue things you see. So these are just, like these can be used for different things. You could just play a game, like you could put them on upside down one, and then you could have a bunch of kids sitting there as social skills. They can pick it up. Everybody can pretend to do one thing over there. You could use them to teach vocabulary. You could use them as conversation starters, group activities, and prompt for games. So this is another thing that you can do with the kids or with any client that you're working with. So these are just like really good tools that I've learned to work with the kids to talk about anxiety. The only thing that I think that we can work with is the behaviors that are related or that are being shown as a part of being anxious, because these are covert behaviors, and as a behavior analyst we can only work with the outer behaviors, right? So anything that is in the outside is something that we deal with, and we can work on those so that can help with the covert behaviors that are happening inside us. And I think that these things, if we teach the kids how to manage those behaviors or those outside behaviors, and they can manage those antecedents before, or those triggers, I think a lot of the anxiety can be controlled. So I hope this video made sense, and I've seen a lot of our kids having a lot of anxiety. Just work with your kids. I know it's a really hard time, and things will get better. So I wish you all best of luck. Take care and stay safe.